Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout releases a new video. Again, I can say that so fast and now it's so I enjoy saying it fast. It's a challenge to myself. I think that was my fastest. Thank you to everybody who is kind of already here. I already pushed it out there, so there's a few of you kind of in the lobby. Feel free to throw any questions into the chat that you might have. But you might be wondering, like, oh, hey, like, why are we getting a review in the middle of the day on Monday? Aloy normally doesn't get his out until Tuesdays, and it's because I did this weird thing, which was I watched it last night when it happened. Normally, I watch them after the fact. I usually watch them Monday morning and then I mull over for a day and then I do something on Tuesday. But today I was like, you know what I should do? Is I should probably just watch it on the night of and then just pop on here and talk about it. Last time you guys said that you really enjoyed having it live streamed, the review. So I was like, yeah, we can do that. Let's do it. So again, how we do our Charmed reviews here is I'm essentially going to break down the video. It's going to be a little bit of a recap. So there will be spoilers if you have not watched it yet, but I'm obviously going to give my thoughts as we go along in terms of story progression, writing quality, and characterization, things like that. You know how we do here. Hello to Madness Arcade, Davey, and Blue Savior. So thank you guys for showing up. Or thank you all. I don't know your genders. So hi. So obviously we find out it's picking up right from the last one. So, Magic is going to die and the spirit of the tree, the guardian, is there. And they say that if the last leaf falls, then all magic is dead. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, you're setting up some good stakes here. But they also notice that the charmed ones aren't being affected by anything. So all the other demons and witches are all dying, but not the charmed ones. But they say immediately that they are going to succumb to the effect of the tree dying. So yeah, so it actually goes from that conversation and then jumps over to Jordan delivering a letter to Abby, which is from her sister, and a little package that we don't find out what it is until the end, but we do eventually we will find out what it is. But he does that and she ends up coughing up ash too and stuff. It's like, oh no, it's affecting her. And I honestly think it's probably affecting her double because she is both a witch and a demon. So if it affects witches and demons, it's kind of probably affecting her doubly. I don't know. It's just my thought. But the Guardian says that only the greatest power and the greatest sacrifice will save the magical world. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, so one of them has to die. Everybody's been talking about Mel dying, so obviously it's going to end up being Mel, but we also didn't hear anything about Mel not being part of the show, the actress. So the likeliness of her dying is not going to be all that high. So they're probably going to find some way around it. But Macy says, if we find the source, that's the greatest power, and infuse the energy of the source into the tree, then we'll be able to restore magic and everything will be fine. But the bad part about that is at the end of the first season, they broke the necklace that they could use to summon the source and divvied it up, put it somewhere in a different pieces of the world and then wiped their memories. So they have no clue where it is. So here's the next spot. And this is where I immediately started sensing something in the writing. And I'm going to have a tangent here in a second, but we'll get to it. So first thing is Mel says, well, we should go ask Abby for help, right? Because she can do a demon mind meld. And Harry's like, no, she's Lloyd and the deceit and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you know what? Screw you, Harry. Abby has been nothing but helpful. Also and then Maggie's like, I don't know if I trust it. And then Jordan says something like, I don't know if I trust her. And I said, okay. So this is writing 101, just for anybody who maybe has been following along. Whenever you are watching a TV show and everybody is saying the same thing about a character, it's only going to lead to one of two things. One, they definitely lean heavily into that thing, or two, they are not that thing. So Here's the thing. So, this is an episode, I believe it was episode 4 or 5 from the first season of True Blood, and I apologize if anybody here has, not seen it, but I'm gonna spoil a little bit. But there is an episode where they introduce this guy in the show, and every scene, I kid you not, is people going, "Oh my god, that guy is so cool. That guy is such a great guy." And I watched that episode, and after hearing it 15, 20 times, "This guy's good. This guy's good. This guy's good. This guy's good." I'm like, "Okay, so obviously he's the bad guy." And yeah, it ended up that he was the bad guy. So, that's kind of what was happening here. So it was either everybody all of a sudden has zero trust for Abby, and it's either because she's going to lean heavily into that, or she's going to be, I kind of surmise that she might be the one to sacrifice herself as the greatest sacrifice. That those would be the two options. She either goes full blown evil, or she sacrifices herself so that Mel doesn't have to. Those were my thoughts going into the episode, and I was correct, just so you know. So anyway, so Abby's like, I don't even know if I want to help you anyway. Mind melds are hard to do. So they're like, okay, well, just do it. Otherwise, you're gonna die too. So yeah. And she's like, fine. And then what they did is they split up everybody again in this episode, which is a thing that the writers of this show do a lot. And it does serve a purpose so that they can have multiple storylines going on at once. Also, each of the sisters hid their piece of the necklace in a different place. So they needed to split up anyway to get that, because time was of the essence. So I get it. I'm not griping, but just every episode they have they have to split up. So let's do Jordan and Mags first. So I'm not going to go like jump around and stuff. Let's just do each couple that goes. So the first one is going to be Jordan and Maggie. So she says, oh, well, after the mind meld, I'm not going to belabor that. They do the mind meld. It happened. Um, done. Oh, and that was another thing. They were like, are we sure we want to trust Abigail with all the information? It's like, shut up. She's just been helpful. Anyway. Anyway, I'm sorry. They are like, okay, so Maggie got the thing that, oh, it's in Kappa, so we need to go to Kappa. They put on pirate costumes because they were going to use a glamour spell and it didn't work. So they get in. Kind of people know that she's alive now, but the girl who saw Maggie in there, they're trying to root around for where she thinks she hid it. And one of the sorority sisters comes in and she's just like, oh my God, you're alive. I got to go tell everybody. And it's just like, oh Lord. I knew that wasn't going to lead to anything good. But, again, I think that girl was super drunk. So they could just be like, nah. And she even said like, Maggie's ghost is in there. And then they left really fast. So probably they're just going to be like, you're really drunk, aren't you? They're gonna really just like, they're just gonna make her wear the badge of like, you are the drunk girl. But there was a thing there though, right? Is like Jordan and Maggie, you like, they should be feeling something, and like you can tell like Jordan kind of wants something and Maggie kind of wants something, but like, I don't know. I never really saw them, together or anything. One cool thing is that the Kappa sorority, they made the like a Maggie wall, an RIP Maggie wall. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, because something that I said in a previous review was like, no one mourned them when they came up dead. No one came to a funeral. Nobody did shit. So I like the idea that, oh, even if they didn't like throw a huge funeral or anything, they were still trying to, honor her, even though it was with, a keg drinking, way to drink, whatever. They're still continuing that legacy, and, she's not going to be forgotten. But also I want to point out that Maggie's hair looked really good again in this episode. I just want to point that out. It looked good again. I was fine with it. All right. So then there seemed to be kind of a bonding moment for Jordan and Maggie, where Jordan was really trying to get to know her and share more of himself with her. But she like interrupted him because she's self-absorbed. If you haven't seen my video of why Maggie Rivera, why Maggie Vera is like the worst, go watch that because it was a fun video to make. But the writers just they they write her like she's the freaking worst. But but she starts talking about like constellations and starts telling her about, you know, blah blah blah. And it ends up that like it explains where this her part of the source is. They go to an old jewelry box and she casts a spell because she had hidden it there. Bam, yeah, you know, all that stuff. And then she says, "Your friendship has meant more to me than you'll ever know," and then leaves because she thinks that she's going to end up dying for the sisterhood. So here's my thing about this is that there was the opportunity for them to seriously have like a touching moment, and it wasn't like they were just like hanging out and whatever, just talking, and everybody's just talking about whatever. It was literally like he was about to share something with her and something super important, and she cut him off. And they didn't write it in a way of like she was cutting him off to, you know, not have a conversation like that. It seemed like she was cutting him off because she was disinterested. And that, again, that could just be the way it was acted or whatever. But, you know, there you go. Um, yeah, I agree with that. That it sounded like she was so smart because she was talking about constellations. And yeah, constellations are like surprisingly easy because I mean, you can see a lot of them pretty much everywhere. And, you know, her dad was really big into them, so he passed along that knowledge. So yeah, I mean, yeah, but I like it when anybody can wax poetic and like really deep conversation about any topic. Like if we're talking about like carpentry and you like get into it and you just start like, this is my jam, woodworking. Like you don't even know this drill bit. Oh man, if you use a 14-inch drill bit versus a 16-inch drill bit, oh man, you can do so many things. Like I love conversation. I might have no idea what you're talking about, but I love to have those conversations with people who are just jazzed about what they're talking about. So anyway, that's what it felt like for her to be talking about constellations. But it also felt like she was so jazzed that she forgot that he was also part of that conversation. So I mean, that's how I got it. And I see the people in the comments, you guys are saying, you know, no, it's because she just didn't want. Nah, watch the scene again because it didn't seem like she gave a look and she's like, oh no, 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 I need to interrupt him before we get serious. It didn't seem like that, at least. It could have been that. That was not uh that was not displayed for me on the screen. So anyway, so there's that. So Macy and Harry, they have sandals that they need to follow, and they do a bunch of like, oh no, I didn't find any sandals, until like she looks under her bed, and I'm like, wait, you haven't looked under your bed? How long has it been since you looked under your bed? Like the rest of the room is like immaculately cleaned, but you haven't looked under your bed? That's weird. Anyway, it did give us the opportunity for her to casually use her power, which is also something that we all have been saying. Like they have these powers and they have barely used them. So they need to start casually using these abilities so that it's a magical show. Like if it was just a show and nobody used powers, then it's just like a mystery show. Then it's not a mystery magical show at that point. So I'm just saying that's just me. But basically, this was an excuse for Macy. She set it up so that she would have to use her science to be able to go and find the sources thing. So it's cool. Like if anybody found the shoes, only she would be able to find it. So I really love that. So anyway, uh, so she like did like, oh man, the sediment on the bottom of these sandals, it comes from sand from this specific place on the earth, and it is the exact opposite end of the earth from Hilltown, which I thought was very cool. That was a great little thing. Like she literally put it on the other side of the world because why wouldn't you? We don't want anything to do with this thing. So I like that, especially Macy, because she was the one who had the source in her in the first place. So yeah, I really liked their touching moments. She had to do a potion to retrace the steps, follow the sandals, but the cave, they had to wait for the tide to go out for them to get into the cave and get the piece of the necklace. So in the meantime, Harry and Macy, they like dance and they have like kind of a beautiful moment. It was like cute and touching. Like I almost thought that they were gonna go in at like a like a sexier direction, and they were going to be like, well, if these are our last moments, and like rip off all their clothes. But I'm actually glad that it was, if these are our last moments, then dance with me, because that shows that it's love and it's not just lust. And I thought that that was really nice. um so now, going to Abby and Mel, we find out that she basically hid the her part of the necklace in the future because she used to have time powers, but we have learned that she no longer does. Like, there is no way to, I mean, I guess I don't even think she's ever going to get them back, but this will be interesting to find out if she ever does get them back. But honestly, if she doesn't get them back, I'm okay with that too. But she did at one point have them, so she hid her piece in the year 2070. So she, in her own mother's grave. So I liked that. They had to end up contacting Celeste, and Celeste had the that timepiece that keeps her alive. She gave it to Mel to use it to go into the future a bit. And she says, you should bring somebody who doesn't care at all, so that they can keep time, so that you don't get lost in the future. And I thought that was really kind of sweet, that she brought Abby. So because Abby's like, I don't care, whatever. Is this going to keep me alive? Let's do it. So I liked it anyway. It did seem weird because they, in the initial conversation with Celeste, it made it seem like she was giving it up, like she was going to die because of giving her this timepiece. But it turned out that, like, oh, they gave it back afterwards, so it's like whatever. But they go to the future, and they find the grave, and they find out that Mel is supposed to die that day. And I was like, ooh, okay. So yeah, so she is gonna die. That was her, that was her grave. I found it interesting that hers was a real grave with like growth on it and stuff. But like the other grave was a holographic grave. I don't know. It was weird. Or maybe I missed it. Maybe they were all holographic graves. I don't know. It's hard sometimes watching the show and making notes at the same time. So I might have missed that, and that's cool. But but they go to the holographic cemetery. While they're there, Ruby actually visits, as an old lady, visits Mel's grave and says, like, we gotta thank the witches who saved us. So I thought that was kind of cute. And actually shows, again, it's weird, right? Because it seems like Mel and Ruby's connection is stronger than what we have been allowed to see as viewers of the show, because she came in so late. I mean, I don't know. That was just my thought. It was weird, but also I get what they're doing. I get why they're doing it that way. I think she was supposed to have been a character that was around. Me and Maria from Approach the Nerd had a long discussion about how they switched out Kat for Ruby, but technically I think they were supposed to be the same character. So I mean, that's a whole thing. But then, they find the piece and then they come back. But Abby actually says, like, you don't have to go back and die. Like, don't go back and die. Why don't you just hang out here? She's like, no, I would totally die for my sisters. And it's weird, right? Because every time like Macy says, like, I don't care, I'll die for my sisters. And it seems like, oh, that's a really brave thing that she's doing. And Maggie says it and kind of says it. And she looks like she's scared as all hell to die. Mel says it like at least 3 or 4 times throughout the episode. And every time she is so matter of fact. She is just like, nah, I'll die. It's all good. It's just like, yeah, but you don't have, no, I'm cool. I'm gonna go die. That's just what's gonna happen. It's like almost like she didn't care at all, or at least that she was very good at hiding her emotions. So there you go. And then they come back. So that's the 3 parts of the episode. Then they come back together. And I will say, by the way, really, really great episode. Even though they got split up, this episode is very strong. So I think I said it at the beginning. If I didn't, my hat's off to the writers. It's a very strong episode. So they get back together, and then the sisters kind of have a touching moment. The spell kind of, they're like, okay, cool, we have to do the spell to bring back the source. It reconnects the necklace, and now it's like hovering over them. And it's so funny because they're like, oh, but I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die. And Mel's like, nah, I'm gonna die. Like, I already said it. And she's like, they're still trying to like talk to her and see who's gonna die. And she's like, nope, yoink. I just yoinked it. It's done. So Mel takes it and she gives the source to the tree. And then Maggie comes from behind and throws her hand in, and Macy does it, and she throws her hands in, and she's like, "We're gonna die together." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So them being voluntarily sacrificing, everybody sacrificing themselves is the the full sacrifice. So nobody's going to die because that's just how that works. And they've changed the future, in other episodes, so she doesn't have to die. But if they didn't do anything different, then she would have definitely died. So while that's happening, though, we found out at the beginning of the episode that Jimmy, because magic is dying, the mind virus fails and Jimmy gets all his old memories and stuff back, which I feel like is honestly, this is the only way that the writers would have been able to write themselves out of the whole rest of the season being about Jimmy. So the effect that Jimmy had on everybody is now over. So all of our thoughts about how this could be like the new virus season and all that stuff, it's gone because all the magic is gone now. So I don't know if that meant that that magic is gone forever or if it's at least gone until the source was restored. But Jimmy shows up and challenges Harry, and basically they fight to the death because he's like, "Oh, if magic is gone, then I'm just a dude and you're just a dude, and I can kill you now because the world doesn't need both of us." And I'm like, okay, this is an interesting way to take this, but they were fighting, and it almost seemed like Jimmy jumped into Harry's blade because I feel like he couldn't kill himself. I feel like he didn't have the stomach for killing himself. But he was very happy to make Harry do it because he knows it would also kind of ruin Harry at the same time. Like, I killed him. Like, yeah, you killed me. However, he stabbed him. They restored the source, and then he died and faded away, which tells me that Jimmy is not gone. This was him trying to do, death by Harry, but I don't think it worked. I'm pretty sure Jimmy is still alive, which would make sense because they restored the source before he died. So that's my thought on that. Anyway, I did enjoy the fight, but it was very short anyway, and they kept cutting to the girls. So I really wish that they might have they needed to focus on one or the other, and they chose to focus on the girls, which they're the stars, so that makes sense. Though this was also a huge pivotal point for Jimmy and Harry as characters. So I don't know. Anyway, um, after it's all done, Mel didn't die. Yay. They changed the future. Yay. They try to come together for like a huge group hug, and they're zapped and they can't touch each other. So I like the way that they kind of are closing a bunch of the storylines from the old season, but they're also opening up new ones. So now whatever they just did means now they can't touch. So I was like, okay, cool. So they're already launching into a new storyline with that. And also, Abby wakes up and she's rejuvenated because all of the magic is back. And she has a dear sister letter. And I was like, oh God, dear sister. All it made me think was of the Lonely Island sketch, dear sister. So anyway, this guy shot me, and then I shot him, and then he shot me again, and then cops came in and he shot us all. And that's all I could think of with a letter that says dear sister, because who writes dear sister? Why wasn't it dear Abigail? That just doesn't even make any sense. Anyway, it but the letter says, here's your thing and we want nothing to do with you. And she's sad for a moment, but then she finds this little idol in the bag. She breaks it and she kind of goes full overlord, and she says, nothing can stop me now. And then it ends. And I was like, you know what? Good. Because again, the way that they were talking about Abigail, it was either she was going to be sacrificed, she was going to sacrifice herself so the sisters didn't have to die, or she was going to go full on demon. And yeah, the first one didn't happen because Mel lived. And I was like, okay, cool. She didn't sacrifice herself. So I was like, I was just waiting for the scene where she was going to go evil, because that's how screenwriting works. It's a whole bunch of things that you kind of lay the groundwork, and you're kind of priming the watcher to answer to certain cues. So if you're like, we can't trust her, 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 bam, now she's evil. See, you're the dumb one for having trusted her, even though all she did was help. All she was doing was helping like the whole time. And then, all of a sudden now she's like, well, I'm just gonna go for it then. I'm full on demon now. Let's go. So anyway, again, I feel like this episode was super strong, very enjoyable from beginning to end, and I thought it was really really good, despite the stupid number of commercials that I had to watching it on regular TV while it was on. I don't know how you guys do it. Uh, so that's my review. I'm gonna hit some of these comments real quick, and we'll see. I'll answer some of them, and we'll figure out because I was kind of looking at them while I was going, but yeah, I was trying to get my whole review out first. So let's see what he says. I thought it was a great episode and the source twist. Yes, because that was actually a thing that a lot of people were saying. We were like, well, I mean, like they had the whole source and now there's the tree and like how do they connect and all of that stuff. And I'm glad that they brought the source back and they made it part of the thing and they didn't just forget that the source was a thing in the first season. So I liked that. Davey says, I haven't watched it yet, but I love your review, so I don't care. Thank you, Davey. I appreciate that. Hopefully I didn't. Honestly, I was just mostly pointing out all the stuff that I saw, but there's more. Like I didn't like say everything that happened. I was mostly talking about all the main things. So, and yes, we are all staying safe and everything. Also, Abby was so close to being fully good till her stupid mom and sister sent that note. Yeah. And honestly, no. I don't think so. I don't think so because here's the thing. I don't think that she was ever going to be fully good. And I don't think that the note is the thing that sent her over the edge. I think that she was definitely hurt by the note, but they could have also sent the note and not given her the idol. They could have been like, don't contact us again and stop asking for that thing. They were like, no. Like, here's your thing and never contact us again. They didn't have to give it. She could have just been a sad half demon, half witch. Instead now, it's much worse. Does anybody think that this episode along with the previous 3 episodes should be season 2? Yes, and that is true. Basically the first 3 episodes of this season were rollover from last season because they had to stop filming due to COVID. So yes, these all work with the last season, but I will point out that they're doing a good job with not just there's no like clear delineation. So they are rolling into new storylines now and they're introducing new elements that I think is pretty cool. I also like overarching storylines between seasons. That's why like I enjoyed Angel a lot. Not everybody did because if you missed a couple episodes of Angel, like you were lost. But I like those overreaching storylines that take several seasons to, resolve. I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I watched True Blood blindly last year. Yeah, there you go. See? I love Abby so much. Me too. So let's see. Seeing Hilltown was a sight for sore eyes. Also, I'm mad the sorority sister wasn't Lucy. I mean, maybe the actress was busy doing something. I mean, who knows what the reason for that is. But yeah, I think what it is that if it was Lucy, she might have had too much credibility, right? If it was Lucy who saw her, then she would have gone to the other sisters and the other sisters might have believed her as opposed to like a random other sister who's drunk off her butt. So I think that might be why, so that now, even though somebody saw them, they can still feign that she's dead because there's not somebody with a huge amount of clout saying that she's actually alive. Why didn't Maggie tell that girl that she's Maggie long lost twin? I think because the sisters knew that she had a sister who was not a twin, 2 sisters who were also not twins. And honestly, I think long lost twin is like if it was a soap opera. I mean, because that's the thing, right? Like it's kind of based in reality, right? So, I mean, yes, there's magic and demons and monsters and all that stuff, but it is sort of based in reality. So, if in reality you saw somebody who you knew was supposed to be dead, but they're not dead, and you said, "I'm their twin," uh, it would be hard. It would be hard because like there's no reason for the twin to be there dressed as a pirate sneaking around either. So I don't know. That's a weird one. It might have worked if this was like a comedy, but since it's not a comedy, I mean it's got comical elements, but it's not a comedy. I don't know. It's just weird. I would say that probably would not work. Let's see. Still waiting on Mel to use her powers. Yeah, she doesn't really use them all that much, but also in the episodes that she has, we know that she doesn't have full control over them. So you also don't want to use them in the wrong moment and just mess everything up. So let's see. Well, that takes care of the Jimmy plot. Ella, guess he changed his mind about the second chance. he didn't change his mind. The magic was dying, so he no longer had that. He no longer had the mind virus. Again, this is how they get rid of the mind virus. So there you go, because magic died and killed the mind virus. That's the only way that does not become the entirety of the storyline for the next season. So good job. I mean, because I was wondering how they were going to do it, like, but they did it. So I was happy with it. I'm fine. Macy hit it space wise, time time wise. Maggie hit emotion wise. Oh wow, that's a good hit. That's actually really good. That's not something I caught. Good job, Abby Trelites. Thank you, Abby. No, you're completely right, and that's really good. Oh, that's good. So let's see. They say these things, but they don't show the love between the sisters. No, I think that they did. I hear that all the time. And that's the funny thing, is that I hear it on both ends. People come to me and they say, "Oh man, the sisters got together too fast and they're too in sync, too fast in the series, and it makes it unrealistic. And they took their time in the original series and that makes the reboot suck." And then, but I hear it from the other end that they're like, "These sisters they don't feel like they're together, blah, 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 blah." It's just like, so I mean, it can't be both. Like, it can't be that they are both too close and not close enough. So you have to choose one. And honestly, I think there's a good happy medium. They are close, but they also don't have to be up each other's butts constantly. That's how I feel about it. That's just me, I guess. um, but let's see. So I assumed it was the mind meld, but the loss of magic makes sense. Yeah. No, it's the mind meld, the demon mind meld with the sisters has nothing to do with the mind virus that was given to Jimmy. So that doesn't make any sense. Abby is going to be a great villain. Hell yeah, she is. Especially since we already know her. That I love reoccurring villains. Those make the best kind. So yes, I am all for that. I love Charmed. I watched it 5 times. That's cool. What was the energy blocking them? And Abby went off, destroying her entire place. What was the monster she turned into? Good questions. The energy blocking them is we don't know, and we won't know until the next episode. That's the cliffhanger there. And Abby went off because she got rejected by her family that she was trying to contact, which she probably was not entirely surprised that they did that, because she knows that that's not how it works. But she did. She destroyed her entire place. And the monster she turned into my thought is the demon overlord. Like, she has become like a more powerful demon. It could be that thing took out all her witch side and now she's full demon. I mean, but again, that's another cliffhanger thing. We have no clue. So we have no clue what it's going to be. So yeah, anyway. So thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with me and talking Charmed. I thought this episode was super good, and I was happy to discuss it with you. And hopefully I addressed most of the things in the comments, in the chat. If not, go ahead and drop a comment on the video once it's processed and it's on the channel and stuff, because the chat goes away and then it's open for comments. So go ahead and hit that. And I want to continue the discussion down in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to hit like on this video. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell, and when you hit the bell, hit all notifications, not just some notifications. Otherwise, you might miss the next live stream whenever we come on here. Yeah, I'm looking out for you. That's all I'm saying. Also, we just launched memberships, so if you hit the join button that's underneath this video, there's also a link in the description for that. You can support the channel directly if you'd like. It's not mandatory. So yeah, so that's it, and it looks like I got a couple more questions here. Let's see. I have the feeling the Charmed ones has gotten the boost in their magic from touching the black amber to restore magic and have awakened some powers in them. Probably. And they might actually even have like their old powers back. It might have overcharged their powers, and now they're so positively charged. And magnets work that way, right? If you have a positive and a positive and you put them together, then they don't match. But then that wouldn't explain why Harry also got pushback. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Mel isn't going to have lost her molecular powers. That wouldn't make any sense, because she already lost her time powers. If she also loses her molecular powers, I don't know. Then she's just got potions then at that point. All right, y'all. I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate and love you all, and I will see you guys in the next video.